Extreme vetting. In a world rife with evolving national security threats, immigration policy can't be viewed as a humanitarian exercise. It must be a firewall. Unfortunately, that firewall developed gaping holes under President Joe Biden, as evidenced by the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General report, June 2024. That report makes clear what many of us have long feared, that systemic failures in our immigration and asylum vetting process are putting Americans at unnecessary risk. This key report lists the many failures of the Biden administration's Department of Homeland Security, concluding, quote, until the department addresses these challenges, DHS will remain at risk of admitting dangerous persons into the country or enabling asylum seekers who may pose significant public safety and national security risks to continue to reside in the United States, close quote. Fortunately, President Trump has the record and the roadmap to fix this problem. The Inspector General's findings paint a troubling picture. Between October 2017 and March of 2023, over 400,000 affirmative asylum applicants were not properly vetted. Over 400,000. This is because U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services failed to utilize the federal databases when conducting the vetting. Meanwhile, Customs and Border Protection lacked access to the key information that was needed to screen migrants who were crossing the border. This is like asking somebody to get in the end zone without even giving the team a playbook. It's not a clerical error. It is a critical national security fail of massive proportion, over 400,000 people. President Trump's executive order number 14161. It was signed early this year, and it wisely recognized this danger and moved to restore rigorous screening processes across the federal government. In contrast to Biden's open-door naivete, Trump returns us to the core doctrine that defined his first term: extreme vetting. The term was coined by Trump in 2016, and it captured the national mood then, and it remains even more relevant today. But reinstating vetting protocols isn't enough. We must fund them responsibly and fairly. The solution? I have it. Charge visa applicants from high-risk countries a supplemental fee to finance their own enhanced background checks. Think about it as a national security copay. If you want to enter the United States from a nation with a documented history of terrorism, failed governance, or limited identity infrastructure, Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, you must pay an extreme vetting fee. This is not a punishment. It's policy with a purpose. The United States taxpayer should not be financially penalized for shouldering the costs of finding out whether or not a Syrian national spent the last 5 years working in a store or in a sleeper cell. America has finite resources. The Biden government failed to allocate or coordinate those resources, allowing asylum backlogs to balloon and scrutiny to wane. Their own Inspector General literally wrote the book on the damage. Trump can fix that, not by throwing more taxpayer money into the bureaucratic bonfire, but by making the system's users pay into that system. Some will cry foul, claiming that this introduces a barrier to entry for impoverished refugees. But let's be honest. If someone from a terrorist hotbed country can't afford an extra $200 so we can dig deeper into their background, do we really want them? This is not about denying access to the truly vulnerable. It's about denying entry to those who think our vetting process is a box check instead of a national security gauntlet like it should be. And yes, deterrence has its place. If a would-be applicant from a war-torn region rethinks their plans because the vetting process is too rigorous or too costly, that's not a bug of the system, that's a feature. The United States is not obligated to open its doors to every person seeking a better life. Its obligation is to protect its citizens first, economically and otherwise. Every dollar we fail to spend wisely on immigration is really a dollar that we may have to spend responding to attacks or criminal activity or even chaos. Let's also address the elephant in the policy room. Even under the best conditions, verifying the identities and intentions of migrants from unstable nations is extraordinarily difficult. In Afghanistan, for example, biometric data is inconsistent. Records may have been destroyed, and corruption can undermine documentation. In Syria, passport fraud is rampant, with ISIS and other groups having exploited government printing presses to produce fake credentials. In these cases, the notion that we can just vet every applicant on some short shoestring budget is pretty laughable. We need more data and more time and more resources and more cross-agency collaboration. More human intelligence as well. These things cost money. President Trump understood this from the outset. His original travel restrictions in 2017 were heavily criticized at the time, but they were eventually upheld by the Supreme Court because they reflected a sober assessment of risk, not an arbitrary rejection of immigrants. Critics naturally want to have a field day with this, shouting xenophobia and Muslim ban while ignoring the actual methodology. Countries were chosen for Trump's executive order not based on religion, but based on their ability or failure to provide reliable information for extreme vetting. That principle should guide any future Trump policy, only now with added teeth. If we go to extraordinary lengths to confirm that someone is not a threat, they should help pay for that effort. Such a policy would not be unprecedented. The United Kingdom already charges non-citizens visa fees for their risk category. Australia levies surcharges for screenings and medical reviews. These countries understand that sovereignty is not free, and neither is safety. So by implementing a risk-based pricing model for visa vetting, the United States would join a rational global consensus on the matter. Moreover, this strategy would help depoliticize immigration enforcement. Instead of debating abstract quotas or arbitrary bans, we would apply an objective financial filter tied directly to risk. Want to mitigate from a stable, transparent country? Fine. Your visa costs stay low. You want to enter from a nation where vetting takes 3 times longer due to fractured civil registrations and all kind of terrorist infiltration? Well, then you should be prepared to wait longer and pay more. Most Americans support this type of common sense approach. In 2023, Pew Research found that 72% of Americans favor stronger vetting for migrants from high-risk countries, and a majority believe that immigration should be tied to national interest rather than emotional appeals. The Biden government ignored this sentiment. A second Trump term must embrace it. Trump has secured our southern border with Mexico. Now he must clean up Biden's mess and secure our visa processes. Extreme vetting is not a buzzword. It's a necessary evolution in a dangerous world. The most effective way to operationalize it is through a sustainable, self-funding mechanism that aligns with fairness, accountability, and national interest. The Trump administration can make it official policy. If you want to come to America, you have to come through the front door and help pay for the locks.